Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start it. Are we calling it a show or a podcast when we say like
whatever
the show that we
show podcast, whatever you're comfortable with, man. There's no rules.
I'll just say show. Okay. Welcome to CineCasters, the show. Oh my god. Let me try that again.
Welcome. You are entering into a strange dimension. A dimension where narratives from across space and time come together. Narratives that could have, might have, or should have been all exist here in one space. This is CineCasters Ultimate Timeline.
Welcome to CineCasters, the show where we watch a movie, talk about it, and then pitch it back to each other. I am Alyssa, and I'm joining Andrew.
Yo, yo, yo.
Today for the fourth time in a row, I guess.
They probably won't go up in a row, but yeah, for the fourth time. And that was Alyssa's first intro. I hope you think she did well. I'll clap to that.
Oh no.
Yeah, I've been trying to get Alyssa to do the intro since her second episode, and every time she's like, "No, you do this one." And then I'll do the next one. So finally, woohoo! That was good. That was really good. Yeah. And what movie are we doing today?
We're doing the Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad from 2016, I want to say.
I think so.
Yeah.
I normally write it down, but I forgot to this time.
Yeah. Well, and also it's probably not the fourth one in a row because I think I'll spread them out with some other people that I've been recording with.
Oh,
other CineCasters members who I hope you'll get to meet. Well, you've already met one of them, you know, Justin.
Yes.
But then I have two other dudes, Nate, of course, and then one other person who I'm hoping to get on the team and who also might be starting a brand new show on the channel as well.
Very exciting.
Very excited about that. But enough about that. Let's get into Suicide Squad.
So what did you like about it? Starting with you today.
Okay. I don't know how to start this. Okay. I enjoyed myself watching this movie. Like, despite how terrible this movie is, I was like, this is fun, and I enjoyed how stylistic it was. It's too long for what it is. Like, if it was just supposed to be a bad movie, it's too long. And of course, it has massive amounts of problems with it. Like, there's no main character, really, or there's too many main characters. There's way too many villains. There's way too many plots going on. The movie can't decide if it wants to be, like, gritty or funny or stupid or terrible or purposefully terrible or... But despite myself, I was like, this is fun.
Okay.
I don't actually know that I liked it, but I did have fun with it. But it was still terrible. I love hate. I hate watched this movie.
I love this movie. I think it's like the stupidest, most fun thing ever. Again, like Aragon, like it's just so bad that it's good.
Yeah. But in this case, the reason I hated it is because I was like, there's some huge budget, there's some huge awesome like actors going on and production and big studio stuff, and they're trying to do like their DC superhero cinematic universe, and how do you fuck up this bad with Margot Robbie, Will Smith? Like, it's perplexing. So in that way, I was super frustrated. But watching it also, I was like, it was like watching a train wreck. I was like, oh, this gonna be good. How bad can you fuck this up? Like, I just knew. And
wow.
I actually, the thing that pissed me off the most, actually, about this movie, like really the most, was the overuse, in my opinion, of pop songs.
Oh, I really liked that.
Oh, see, I hate that. And I've had this argument with a couple different people, but like, I think if you use one or two or three in a movie, it can work really well to like punctuate the moment. But if you do something like this where like every scene has to have like a classic rock song that defines the character or that defines the scene, it's like, no, you need to have your own unique voice, I think. So like if you're going to introduce each character with their own song, fine. Leave it at that though.
Yeah, or having like a theme.
Yeah.
That maybe comes from a popular song and it comes back throughout. I just bumped my microphone. It comes back throughout the movie.
Yeah.
but it isn't actually the same song, because I think we hear a couple of the same songs multiple times.
Yeah, but I mean, how many songs did this movie use? It was way too done up, I think.
Yeah.
It was ugh.
So I actually really enjoyed the music in it.
You probably like A Knight's Tale, don't you?
No, but my mom does.
Okay, A Knight's Tale, I really like that movie. I think it's super fun. Except like all the music is non-diegetic pop music like AC/DC, and every time I'm like, no.
Isn't that the same with the Cinderella story?
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen that one.
They have I can't remember what song it is, but it's like a 2000s pop song, but like sung like it's.
Oh no, you're thinking of Ella Enchanted, I think.
Is it
with Anne Hathaway?
Yes.
Yeah.
With Anne Hathaway.
No. Yeah. Cinderella story I've not seen because it has it's like a modern retelling with Hilary Duff.
Yes.
I think.
Yes, I remember that one too. I really liked that one a lot actually too.
Right.
It was bad, but it was fun.
Okay, well, maybe we'll do that one for an episode of CineMasters. But anyway, no. Going on with this, like, I don't know. I'm really weird. This movie was terrible fun, but like as a movie, as a piece of like cinema, as a piece of cinema art, this was hard to get through because I felt like there wasn't a lot of thematic carryover. It was very messy.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's because they had so many characters. And while the casting was really great for all of those characters, I felt like they were all cast really well. There were too many.
Well, there was too many characters, yeah. And then they just randomly start introducing new ones. They're like, "Oh, this is Katana," and you're like, "Why?" And then at one point they're like, "Oh, and this is Slipknot, the man who can like tie any rope and climb anything." And I was like, "Who the fuck? Okay, this guy's gonna die. He has to because he didn't get his own intro."
Yes.
Like it was too obvious.
Yes.
At times I felt like, do you know the scene where they're like dressing? Like where they're in the base? I felt like that was the intro. In an older version
it really
of this
did.
movie.
Yeah, it really did feel like the actual intro. Like they had all of their character intros, but that was when the movie actually started.
Yeah, this movie feels like it has like they like shot the intro like 5 different times.
Like those should have been maybe trailers.
Yeah. Well, the trailer for this movie did really well. It was like a big phenomenon.
Yeah.
And so I think they
really
like
nice.
reshot some of the movie to like match the trailer. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think we get this like it's a little bit messy from what I can tell. Yeah. I don't know the whole backstory behind this, but I bet you the studio stuck its hand way up its butt.
Probably.
And tried to like puppeteer itself. Yeah.
I had one plot hole that I don't know if you noticed.
What?
But the passage of time. Oh, okay. So towards the end, when they're calling in like, oh, this is what we're gonna do to stop the big bad guy. We've got the charge that we just need to detonate underneath him. Where did the diving team? Like,
they died. They died.
From?
I just
but where did they come from?
Like underneath? I don't know.
Like they just appeared. I was like, oh, okay, great. What more characters?
The dive team, they were with them the whole time. It was the second in command, played by Clint Eastwood's son.
Well, where did they go then when they were having their little pity party in the bar?
Yes.
There was like so much disjointed. Like it was just.
No, here's my thing. Okay, this is my big one. So there's a giant evil like sorceress and her brother who are shooting beams into the sky. Right? Mm-hmm. We know that Superman's dead because they basically said so. So where's Batman? Or the Flash? Or Wonder Woman? Or Aquaman?
Yeah.
Or Cyborg? All of them we know are in this universe.
And they're just not.
They just can't be
there.
bothered.
Even though this is literally like affecting the whole world.
Yep.
Because the attack is, oh man.
Yep.
Okay, you just brought up something that just made me even more mad. I didn't think of that. I was like, well, where's Batman? Like that was the only one I was thinking of, and I was like, well,
we know that Batman and the
to
Flash
take care
are
of
both
this.
in this universe, and you're just gonna have like an evil sorceress lady, like basically start pumping, I don't know, dark matter into the sky. I don't actually know what the weapon is.
And none of them show up.
And just not show up.
Yeah. Are we going to talk about the Joker?
Do we want to talk about the Joker?
I really don't want to because he was just awful. He sounded like he was like...
I have a couple things about this. I don't like Jared Leto's Joker. I don't think Jared Leto is a bad villain, but I also think at least he tried something different after Heath Ledger.
That is true.
He tried something different, and I will say, like, his version of the Joker matches the stylized aesthetic of the whole movie, or at least part of the movie.
That is true.
The sort of like over the top, aesthetic, like the fact that when Diablo shows up, he has like a crown that's made of fire over above him. Like the problem with this movie is like that aesthetic can work if you like dig deep and just lean into it. But then I think the movie has to be a comedy.
Yeah.
And this movie, every so often they like have their pity party and they're just like, these are my friends now. And you're like, is that what we're going for? Like there's this scene where Harley's like on top of the car and it's raining because the Joker's dead, and they like walk out of the bar and she's like, I made it, and they're like, oh, we're glad to see you. And like the music playing is like super evocative and emotional, like violins and pathetic fallacy, and I'm like, I don't care. Like I know what the movie is telling me to feel, but I just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
see, I liked that scene, especially for my pitch.
Yeah, you can use it.
I want to use it
as a scene. It's shot well. It looks good, but as a narrative, like it doesn't work. There are some incredibly awesome shots in this movie. Like you can tell they had an idea of like the style and the way that things are shot is like purposefully done for that kind of aesthetic, that like over the top, vibrant, bombastic, almost ADHD aesthetic. But what we don't get is this. What we don't get is like a really solid movie. So the shots look good individually. Like you said, this would go great in a trailer. It feels like this whole movie is just a trailer for itself.
Yes. That is kind of what it feels like. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. The only person who really has any like arc at all is Diablo, and his arc is weak. But he's like the only one.
Kind of Deadshot as well, a little bit.
Not really. I mean, they all have an arc, but like it doesn't follow from beginning to end. What's Deadshot's motivation?
That's a really good question.
Because if you ask me, at the beginning of the movie, his motivation is that he wants to make sure that his daughter is okay, right?
Yeah.
And so, because at the end of the movie, he spends some time with his daughter and teaches her, right? And so you're like, okay, so like his motivation is all about making sure his daughter is looked after. I don't even think it necessarily should be that his motivation is that he wants to spend time with his daughter, just that his daughter is looked after, that she can go to all these, all the colleges and whatnot. That would work, except the movie doesn't follow through. What's Harley Quinn's motivation? Because the two of them are clearly supposed to be the main characters. Supposed to be. What's Harley Quinn's motivation?
That's again.
I would
assume it's to be with the Joker.
To be with the Joker, right? But like, it doesn't.
But then why does she come back? Why didn't she just use the chance? People think she's dead. Just leave. I don't know. So it doesn't make any sense to me. It's super dumb, and it's dumb. And then the other character which is really weird, but like Colonel Flag. Yep.
He is also more of a main character than like Diablo or Diablo or Captain Boomerang, and these are all the characters that were introduced, but like Flag has more going on, and he has, I think, more at stake for most of the movie than any of the other characters, because he's the one who wants to go and get June Monroe, right, who has been taken over by the Enchantress. Which, by the way, there's a scene there where like she says Enchantress, and you can see like the dark version of her like grabs her hand and flips over. That's a fucking great shot.
That was super cool.
That's super cool. If you played Dr. June Bauer as the villain, as Enchantress as the villain, where she can't control herself, and you shot this movie like a horror movie with her as the villain, and you make Flag the main character. So we have an actual hero as the main character, and don't make him an asshole. And then you say like, oh, we're putting Flag in charge of Task Force X and introduce him to all these villains. And it's the only way they can like deal with the Enchantress, because the Enchantress is supposed to be like a secret weapon for the government.
Yeah.
Right? Then you have Flag as your main character. He's going after June because he wants to save the woman he loves, but she's taken over by the Enchantress, who is a scary horror villain style thing, because I think that would really work. And now we're putting him in charge of, because this has to be like a covert op, like all underground. So we're putting him in charge of all these villains who have been given deals, and we introduce the villains as side characters for the Flag versus Enchantress thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then we go from there. And we have them.
That would be pretty cool.
And what we do with that is we use this movie, Suicide Squad, as a means of introducing all of these villains, so that they can have their own spin-offs. But they're not the main character. The main plot point is Flag versus Enchantress, in order to try and get back the woman he loves. And you shoot it like half heist, half horror movie.
And that's kind of, honestly, it's very confusing, because that is what I feel like that was told fairly well in the story.
That is what I think the main plot is. But then there's also a bunch of shit going on with Amanda Waller. Like, at first I thought she was going to be the villain, but then Enchantress, but then Joker is also in this.
She kind of is a villain, but then Joker, also he's Joker like a little bit of a villain. It's just a very strange thing.
Joker should either be the villain of the movie, or he shouldn't be in the movie at all, just referenced, or maybe cameoed.
Yes.
But yeah. Because I do feel like there's some great ideas in here. Really, truly great ideas. I mean, I just pitched one version of what could have been this movie. Mm-hmm. But...
Was that your pitch or no?
No. That was just off the top of my head. And there's some, like, it gets super eldritch. Like, you could do some crazy horror stuff. Like, you know the scene where they walk into the subway station and, like, there's, like, black shit and it looks like time is stopped? That's some motherfucking eldritch shit. That's, like, H.P. Lovecraft horror shit. Lean into that, man. That was the coolest part of this movie.
Yeah. Was that character, that villain. But we don't even see that much of him until the fight.
You mean of Enchantress?
No, her brother.
Oh, well, Enchantress is clearly supposed to be the villain. He's like a lackey.
I know, but I'd like to see a little bit more of him, because he is the one with that crazy, like, eldritch power.
I mean, if I was going to repitch it, I would just take him out and just make it all about her. Yeah. I wouldn't even have, like, the fodder, the like, army that she makes out of, like, the gross-looking black shadow people. I wouldn't even have that, because, like, it's I mean, there's so many other things you could do. Yeah. I don't know, like, a couple times I'm like, 45 minutes into the movie, they're only getting into their suits now. The budget on getting copywritten music must have been huge for this movie alone. Yes. Like, you could make a short film, a half an hour short film on that budget alone, and it would have been a huge budget for a short film.
Yeah.
Captain, they do manage, as a good thing, they do manage to make Captain Boomerang not terrible. Like, I mean,
really
in terms of,
like Captain Boomerang,
because he doesn't do anything in this movie. That's the problem. But I mean, they managed to make, like, he was, I think he was supposed to be the comedic relief kind of thing. Like, he's this roguish Aussie who's like, I don't really have any stakes. I'm just here because I'm Captain fucking Boomerang. And I think that kind of worked. It just doesn't work. Like, the characters that are in here that don't work for me, like, in terms of why they're in this movie, Captain Boomerang doesn't work.
Yep.
Katana should not be in this movie.
Yep.
Killer Croc should really not be in this movie.
Yeah, he doesn't really do much until the end.
He doesn't, but he's not needed in the end, because he's like, oh, I'm gonna go with you. But then the divers are the one that do this shit.
Huh.
Why is Killer Croc in this movie? What's his motivation?
10 years off his sentence.
That's not a good motivation, though. It doesn't make me care about him. Right? I don't care about Captain Boomerang either, but he clearly could have been like your asshole rogue who's like, who you can make your audience like him because he's like charming but also an asshole. You can do that. It works.
Yeah.
But you don't make him your main character.
I mean, I think that overall, just because of the type of characters they are too, is that they do want to be out and about and doing something rather than just sitting in their cell.
Well, I think that's interesting, because the character that I related to the most, that I was like, this is the most interesting character, is Diablo.
Who didn't want to be there.
Exactly. That makes him so much cooler. If they had like focused on him as where he like did all this bad shit and is a villain, and now he wants to like stay and just be like, I need to repent. What I did was not okay. You know what I mean? What and who I am. So no, I deserve to be here. I don't want time off my sentence. I don't want to work for other people.
Yeah.
I just want to be. I want to repent. Is and I think that could really work, because then we could say, like, what if instead of being a villain, what if you could be a hero?
Yeah.
And then he could, so there's redemption for him. Everyone loves a redemption story. And if it's told well.
Always.
Right? So Diablo, for me, has the most powerful arc, potentially. It's just squandered. He kind of has redemption. He dies in the end. But also, what a waste. He's the best character. But he did
save the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Which is something that he's not used to. Normally, he just,
he sacrificed himself so that the Enchantress's brother could be destroyed. But he's not the one who defeats him. It's the bomb that does. Sure, it's through his actions, but it's like, I don't know, it feels like a waste, especially because they spend a lot of time setting up his power, only to kind of squander it.
Can we talk about how cool Diablo was, though? Like,
he's
when he was like this skeleton king. Yeah. It was so cool.
He's the best character in this movie, and they do nothing with him. They do very little. I know.
With him.
Yeah. Ugh. But I mean, like, anyway, I was gonna say something about how many main characters you need to have, but I was like, that basically just gets into my pitch, so there's no point in going there. The whole, like, prison warden.
I didn't like him.
No, and I get you're not supposed to, but I was like, this is not how, like, the world runs. So I don't know, is the movie supposed to be stylistic, or is it supposed to be realistic? Like, you need to pick one. And there are things that happen, like, why didn't Deadshot kill him when he had the chance? What difference would it make? He's already in prison.
That's true.
Like, what's the motivation for not doing that? It just doesn't make any sense to me why stuff is happening. But the movie is shot really well. It's dazzling to look at. Okay, so here's my biggest problem with this movie. I have a long list, so it's been crazy to go through. My biggest problem with this movie actually is almost every scene that Harley is in, she's depicted in, like, positions that are, like, particularly violent towards women. And I mean, like, physically staged that way and shot that way, so that, like, it's always objectifying her, or it's always like I don't know, some of the scenes, like, where it's always like it's about how Harley is positioned in relationship to where the men are.
Yeah.
And I find that really, like, Harley Quinn is supposed to be this badass, like, female. Sure, she can be attractive, but, like, the way you show your female characters says a lot about how badass they are. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people look at Harley as this very badass female who is trying to get out, particularly in newer versions of Harley, who's trying to get out from under the thumb of a male, right? So yes. Harley's not a good person, but she's still, she was for so long, and as a character and as a narrative, she was defined by her relationship to the Joker.
Yeah. And
now is trying to get away from that. I feel like this movie doesn't do any of that.
And none of the comics involving her that I've seen, there could be many, have really actually, like, objectified her.
Well, comics in general are problematic that way.
Yeah.
So I won't.
But it, like, they never really seem to show her off like that.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. She's usually in that, like, the Jester's outfit.
Only more recently she has her own, like, aesthetic. And it's still very, I mean, Harley Quinn is often drawn that way. If we want to quote Jessica Rabbit, I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way. But I do feel like this movie goes out of its way to do that. And I really don't understand why Harley wants to get back to the Joker other than they, like, love each other. It doesn't feel very well done.
No, it doesn't. Especially with all the flashbacks that she was getting.
I don't know. It doesn't. Anyway, I have my own thoughts about that. But what I will say, because everyone knows my catchphrase is coming. It shouldn't have been a TV show.
Oh.
Because they already made a TV show. It's called Harley Quinn. And apparently it's super dope.
I should check that out then.
It's not actually the Suicide Squad, like, so it's not, but like apparently there's like 2 seasons, maybe with a 3rd one coming out. Apparently the show is just phenomenal. So, I don't get why everyone was like gung ho about Margot Robbie playing Harley Quinn, because I actually didn't like the way she played Harley Quinn.
Really?
I think this movie tends to go like, oh, people who are insane are childish. That's not true at all. Harley Quinn plays herself like she's a child, but she doesn't feel like threatening. She doesn't feel insane. She doesn't feel broken. She just feels dumb. The best parts of this movie are when Margot Robbie is playing Harleen Quinn.
Yes.
Right? Because then you're like, oh, this feels like a put together person who's slowly losing their mind. I'd watch that. But then when she's Harley, it's just like, okay, you're just pretending to be stupid or like ditzy because that's what you think insane people do. Like it doesn't feel, you don't feel nuts. You feel dumb as a character.
Yeah. Actually, that would be a really cool movie concept. Almost like the Joker that came out recently.
Except with Harley Quinn.
With Harley Quinn.
Watching her slowly go nuts. Oh, I'm certain there's comics of that.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
It'd be like, you know, it'd probably have the exact same effect as what the Joker had, was where it was.
No,
like,
I think you could do. I think if I was going to pitch that right off the top of my head, that's a really interesting idea. Actually, now that you bring it up, if I was going to pitch that right off the top of my head, I think there'd be some really neat ideas you could do with that. But I don't know. I'd have to really like sit down and think about that. I don't know if I want to pitch that one off the top of my head, but like, because I would probably lean heavily going into the Batman Arkham Asylum game.
Oh yeah.
You can get tapes of like what was going on with Harley while she was interviewing the Joker, and it's really, really well done, I think.
Yeah.
But if I was going to do anything Batman related, I would also get Justin involved because he knows far more about Batman than I do. I don't know if that includes Harley Quinn, but
yeah.
So that's just where I am with that. But anyway, what are your goods and bads? Like anything that you really...
Honestly, we covered it. The music, the casting. I really liked those. I actually really liked... You just said her name.
Margot Robbie.
I really liked Margot Robbie as Harley.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I went into it expecting like the childish kind of...
Okay. I just... Maybe I expect more from my movies.
I guess. And then I didn't like the Joker, but...
I like that he tried something new, but I don't think it landed.
I think what I really didn't like him about the most with him was honestly just the way he was talking. It sounded like he
like he was trying to be a Southern gentleman.
Yes. It was awful. That actually really bothered me. Every time he was on screen, I was just like,
it's you and me, darling.
It was really bad. And then I felt like they had token characters. Like we have Katana.
Oh, you mean because you're just trying to like get your female and diversify your quota?
Yeah, and I felt like they were kind of token characters, like Slipknot, Boomerang, Katana.
Yeah, I guess. But I thought, like, I mean, Deadshot is Will Smith, a very famous African. And I thought Will Smith actually plays Deadshot really well.
He does. He really does.
He's not really token.
And I feel like... No, but I feel like it's kind of moving beyond that now. Like, we're moving beyond just having, black actors playing characters.
Yeah.
And moving on to adding other people now. And the problem is that they were introduced, they diversified the cast, but they didn't really have much.
There's nothing going for them, yeah.
Yeah. So I wish that they had put a little bit more emphasis on some of them, or, you know, picked 1 or 2 of them. Yeah. And had them be like good, solid side characters.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. Like, I really enjoyed how they included Ben Affleck and what's his name as the Flash, like as cameos.
Yeah.
Like just to have them in there. I wish they'd done that with the Joker, where it was like, oh shit, this is what the Joker is like. And it's like scary and spooky, but we don't actually get a lot of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. This movie has a lot of things wrong with it. It was shot really, really nicely, though. I didn't mind the stylistic ideas when they were leaned into. I just think, actually, the pitch that I just did about the horror movie, that's a really great pitch. I actually kind of wish I'd written that one instead.
Yeah.
I really like the pitch that I have.
Now I wish that I did that, too.
I really like the pitch that I have, but
I don't really like the pitch that I have.
Do you want to go first, then?
All right, are we good? Can we move on to that, then?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll do that. So I would actually start with the same introductions, show off all of them, because I actually really liked, the cameos, and I really liked
those
that
work.
We get to see like a scene of them before they join up as a group.
Yeah,
like what they were like in the before times, I want to call it. I would take out a few characters, mostly being Boomerang and Katana and Slipknot. I actually can't remember. Did I bring Slipknot back? Did I want him in there?
Why? What does he do?
Dun, 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 dun. Hang on. I think there was something. Apparently not.
Yeah, if he's not even written, I'm assuming you probably forgot that he was even in this movie.
Well, the thing is that I actually was like, okay, if I was going to bring Slipknot in more, I would make him an actual metahuman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like Spider-Man, but maybe less cool.
Except not Spider-Man, because he's not in the...
But not Spider-Man, because that's Marvel.
Yeah.
And this is DC. So, I don't know how I would do it, but I would do something a little bit more, because I think that...
If I was going to put Slipknot in my movie, it would be the band.
Yes.
And I would just have the band show up, and people be like, "Oh, you guys are in the Suicide Squad," and have them be like, "No, we are the Suicide Squad." And then the rest of the movie would just be a Slipknot music video. It would just be like
cool.
An hour and a half Slipknot music video where they play an hour and a half set.
That would be really fun, actually. But I think that he could potentially have some use to the plot. And
he's a
I really didn't like that they killed him off. Yeah, I thought there was a lot more that they could have done with it, but whatever. Anyway, so yeah, we'll take them out. We'll take all of them out just for simplicity's sake. So that leaves us Harley, Deadshot, Diablo,
Killer Croc,
Flag, and all the other kind of characters. But no Katana or Boomerang or Slipknot. So I would actually make it so that Harley is the main character.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit more, focus on her. She gets to see a little bit more of the story as things go on. And I would actually introduce a character arc for her instead of just yay, I'm there, I'm insane and want to kill things. And then, oh, I'm back in my cell, but with caffeine. That's a great idea.
Also, who wears high heel boots while on a mission? Fucking what?
Yeah, they looked good though.
Great, sure, yeah, but they're not.
Did my light just flicker?
Yeah, I think so. But the whether they look good or not does not make them practical. Nobody would do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. Anyways, I'm not gonna worry about what they're wearing because that to me it's not part of the story, the plot.
But it is a problem.
It is a problem, but yeah. So I would speed up the actual introductions of all the characters, and put a lot more focus on Harley.
Okay, yeah.
And also there would be less characters to introduce in the first place, having taken out a couple of them. And so yeah, fast forward to the point where they're all in the base, they're getting briefed, they're learning kind of a little bit about each other and stuff. They get that really bad pep talk from Officer Flag. Good times. So I would actually change kind of their information flow. Instead of it being completely need to know, where they're all right, we're getting in, we're securing a person, we're getting out. Because that's basically all they're told. I don't actually think they're told that outright. They just have a mission and they're going to do it, and they don't know what the mission is. Yeah, they're told
to secure VHT1 or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't think they know what that is. Or
yeah, it's okay. I don't really know what VHS is anymore either.
Wow. So I think that their need to know basis would be a little bit more informative. I think that they should know what's going on in town, and you know, Officer Flag being like, we don't have to engage. We're just getting this person and we're getting out. And that's it. So that they're like, okay, well, there's obviously this danger, so maybe we'll be a little more careful, but you know, we're also like villains, so whatever.
Is Enchantress a thing still?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So everything that's happening in the Senate, sorry, I totally skipped over that. Everything that's happening in the, is that an airport that's happening at?
I thought it was like a hotel. No, I don't know.
Or like a subway? But it's like a big hub, whatever it is. Same thing is happening. There's still all that crazy stuff going on. And so they actually know. They're like, there's a metahuman, might be 2 of them. We're going to avoid them at all costs. Here's like a little bit of information that you should know. Like, she can have this army of weird things. They're not human and they can never be human again. So give them merciful deaths so that they know there's no like surprise when they come up to them. So it would kind of progress in the same way. They crash the helicopter, because I think it's actually really important that we see that Waller is sitting there, and it kind of alludes to the fact that it's not just going to be a failed mission if that group were to die before getting to her, because we don't actually know they're going to get her. Yeah. So like seeing the relief on her face when she's like, when she sees that they're okay, is like, that's kind of a big teller. So I really liked that. So I would still keep the crash in there. And yeah, so it would progress honestly the same up until about until they actually get to Waller. Once they get there, I would actually start changing things. There's still like obviously little tweaks, like less characters, and they don't have that one character dying because he's not there. For Harley, she's just following along for the start. She knows like, oh, whatever, there's this thing in my neck, but my friend is going to deactivate it, so all I have to do until then is survive, right? So she doesn't really care that there's the potential of them blowing her up. Will Smith's character Deadshot knows they're not goofing around. Yeah. Croc is just happy to be out. He's just happy to be out of his cell, and able to get rid of some of his anger.
And eating the dark shape-shifted people. Yeah.
And so he's just excited to be going. So he doesn't really care about the explosive either. And none of them are actually really planning on trying to escape, because they're like, whatever. If they try to blow me up, then that sucks. But I'm out for now. Yeah. And I mean, with the exception of Harley. Harley's like, well, I'm going to escape, but you guys don't know that yet. But there's no really like telling sign of that. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent.
No, that's okay.
So they get to Waller. And I really want them like on their way there to see sort of bits and pieces of more destruction that the witch is causing. So maybe you see a couple other helicopters, and then her brother like lashes out and grabs the helicopter. Yeah. And like while they're getting closer to the center of it all, to get Waller. And then once they're there, they actually see on the screens the actual destruction that the witch is causing, or the Enchantress. And where am I? Yeah, so they are like, okay, we're gonna leave, we're gonna regroup, we're gonna see if we can find someone to help us take the Enchantress down. So they go up to the roof, they're waiting on their flight, same thing happens, Joker comes, Harley goes, they get shot down, and then Harley escapes, Waller leaves, she gets shot down, and then they're like, okay, well, we need to make sure she's okay, we need to bring her back, she's kind of really important to the survival of you guys, so we need to go get her. Harley's waiting, And it's the same thing. But from here on out, Harley's a little different. She's changed a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the movie, she starts changing quite a bit more than what they showed. So they find the... Yes. Yeah, okay, sorry. Just checking my notes. So they find Waller's helicopter, but Waller is dead.
Dun dun dun.
Yes. So Harley is kind of poking around and finds the files, but doesn't tell anyone about it. And they're like, okay, well, we need to we need to figure out what our new mission is. Flag convinces the group that there is a third person with the controls to the neck explosives. So they still have to follow his command. Even though, surprise, it was only him and Waller.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a silly idea, but
Whatever.
that's just how it worked. So Harley finds the files. They go have their little pity party in the bar to figure out what's going on, how they're going to change things. We get the same kind of details from Diablo about what he did. And then we learn from Officer Flag himself about his relationship with June, who is turned into the Enchantress. And then... Where am I? So Harley admits she knew about Officer Flag's relationship.
Oh, damn.
As soon as he finishes telling the story.
Yeah.
And then, so once the group is kind of like calmed down, she's like, well, why don't we go get her? Why don't we do this mission? Because, to quote earlier, we are the Suicide Squad. And so let's do it. Because all of us have lost our chance at love. Diablo's wife is dead. His kids are dead. Croc is
The
Croc. Harley, just escaped the fatal helicopter crash with the Joker in it. What other characters are there right now?
Diablo, Deadshot, Harley.
Oh yeah, Deadshot's already got a divorce. And then he's like, yeah, and Flag is the only one who has a chance. And so she's like, let's do it. And it's her idea to go. And he's just like, oh my God, what is wrong with you, Harley? This isn't you. But they go anyways. So they go. Once they're out of the bar, she's kind of returned to her usual self. She's back to being the weird, bubbly, childish, crazy Harley. But they're also just like, is she gonna be okay? Like, it's weird that she seemed to have a rational thought. Like, they're kind of weirded out by that. They find their way to the flooded subway. At this point, it's just that team. There's no dive team, no nothing. Croc is like, I'll do it. Give me something to use to know when to detonate it. And they find, like, I don't know, they just happen to find a dead officer who has a earpiece, and Officer Flag, it's just, for plot.
Yeah.
Officer Flag just like tunes it up real quick and is like, here you go. So they do that. He goes and he swims under, but he isn't really stopped by any of the army things, because why would they be down there?
Yeah.
I didn't really see a point to them being down there in the first place. Where are we? So they get out there, the same kind of thing happens. The Enchantress is like playing mind games. Diablo and Flag are like, it's not real. Like, sorry guys, it's not real. That's just, it sucks. But, and then they end up taking care of the Enchantress's brother in the same way Diablo sacrifices himself. And Croc blows him up. Manages to swim away because there's a timer on the detonation. Yeah. And then they actually don't destroy the machine first. Instead, they
the machine?
The thing.
Oh, the weapon.
The big weapon.
Yeah, I like how they're just like, it's a weapon, but we have no idea what it is. It's like never explained.
Yeah, what is it doing? How does it work?
It's literally like it's the same like hole in the sky plot device that they use at the end of Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Are we talking about Fan 4 Stick?
Yeah. In the Fan 4 Stick, they have like a hole in the sky, and it's like, oh, it's the same plot device. It's just. We need to stop the thing.
Whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they end up destroying the Enchantress's heart. I don't know how they're going to do that. I didn't really think that part through. I'm not good at writing fight scenes in my own writing, so I didn't want to stress myself out with that.
Yeah.
And then suddenly this the machine, this weapon is super unstable because it's not being held together by the magic anymore, but it's still got all this destructive power that's just kind of there. Who knows how that happens, honestly. It's like they just have like car parts. And somehow they're destroying the world with it. I don't know.
I don't know what the weapon is. Like I said, they don't explain.
It's like this weird mix whatever of car parts and magic.
Yeah, but I didn't think it was car parts. I think the car parts were just floating in like the gravity caused by the magic.
But it seemed like the brother was intentionally like throwing the cars over there so that she could use the parts out of them. Like maybe she was using like parts of the engines.
Or maybe she just needed things to throw into her plot device. She was building a plot device.
Batteries, so that was exactly what she was doing.
No. She was building a plot device. Like literally she put together a plot device.
Yeah. Anyways, so it's super unstable now. They run out of the building not knowing how to stop it or how much damage it's going to cause. And it ends up not actually being that big of a explosion. It's a little bit more of like one of those like poof, and then it just sucks. Like it's not actually that entertaining to watch because I don't know, I felt like having an unsatisfying explosion really fit the
unsatisfying movie.
Yeah. So they are given a rendezvous point to meet up at now that this whole thing has happened. June is kind of awake, but she's super weak. She's just, Flag is carrying her. So while they're walking, they're like joking about like, oh, what are we gonna do? Can we ask for something? And Flag is like, well, I mean, I guess I can see if I can swing something. And so they're joking about the same things, like, oh, I want a TV, I want an espresso machine, whatever. And then once they get to the rendezvous point, or once they get back to the base, I want Harley to kind of pull Flag aside and be like, hey, I want to ask for one more thing. Can you get me a new guard?
Yeah.
Some company every once in a while. She's like, I don't care who it is. I just want someone else to talk to. And she's like, and maybe a therapist.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
And you kind of see like there's a little bit of that redemption arc that we also see in Diablo, where he's like, I need to fix myself,
better,
or I need to
atone.
Yeah,
I really like that.
And we see that she, in the flashbacks, she's just like, oh my god, I wasn't always like this, and I kind of want to go back to being better. And so we see that's kind of what she wants to do. And now that she thinks she's free from the Joker, she's like, I'm just gonna pursue it.
Yeah, that's good. No, I like that. What I really like actually is the idea, and I think what you could do is the idea of during this whole like fiasco with Enchantress, they've been told not to go to the Enchantress, like to the weapon. They've been told to retrieve Waller, or at least so they've been told to go retrieve someone. So we could see it happening in the background. But then what you do is you show like your actual superheroes. They're the ones who have gone to deal with Enchantress. And so like when Harley says like, oh, what's all that going on over there? And they're like, that's not your problem. Your problem is to retrieve, retrieve the person. And then in the background, you can show like your superheroes. And then when shit gets fucked up with the superheroes, then you can be like, okay, now the Suicide Squad is like the only people who are left. And if you keep it like low superheroes, like let's say it's Cyborg, because everyone seems to hate on Cyborg. So maybe it's like Cyborg and he gets incapacitated. right? Or maybe more than one of them. They get incapacitated, and then it's like, oh, the Suicide Squad, you guys now have authorization to go there. Or even just have Harley be like, look, if we go there, we can maybe save June. I like that idea, though. It can make the world a little bit bigger, where you're like, no, the Suicide Squad's job isn't to save the world. It's just to save a person, and they choose to do that. I think that's...
Yeah,
you gotta like you can lean into the redemption kind of quality of what the squad wants,
and that's what I was going for, is because we've got Deadeye or Deadshot. He's kind of the rational guy where he's just like, if we can figure out a way to do it, let's do it.
Let's do it.
But Harley's like, I want, we've all messed up except for you. You need to get your girlfriend back.
Yeah.
So she would be a little bit more of like the driving force.
Yeah. Dope.
And she also has no reason to come back because her explosive chip has been deactivated.
Yeah.
So she's just like, I could run away, or I could work on getting better.
Yeah. There's no real reason for her to come back.
Yeah.
In the actual movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or the reason, like, I don't know, whatever. The reason, like, Deadshot chooses to miss.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
Didn't really make sense to me. I was like, does he care about Harley? Because I haven't really seen any connection between them other than villainy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great stuff. Great stuff. I liked it.
I didn't think it was that great because I didn't really change that much.
Yeah, but at least you tried to like make a coherent plot out of what we got.
Yeah.
And that's always worth something.
I didn't really like Amanda Waller in
That's
this.
why I think she's well, I'll show you. Can I do my pitch?
She was kind of a bit of an antagonist. She
She's
wasn't really
supposed to be.
like...
Amanda Waller is always
a villain.
an antagonist.
She was an antagonist, yeah.
Can I get into mine?
Yep.
So mine is a TV show. It's 6 episodes. In the first episode, it's called The Devil's Work. We see a woman who is like facing forward, like she's walking towards the camera. And the camera's like backing up away, and she's like in a dress ready to go out, like in an evening dress or something like that. And they're like vibrant colors though, like it's like blue and red and very stylized. She's also has like 2 bouncers, like bodyguards with her, dressed in like suits, who are clearly like walking alongside her. She enters through the door of what looks like a sleazy bar, but it's like also super stylized, vibrant colors, and like it's like lit up really, really in hot colors and whatnot. The bar above, it says it's called Purgatory, and so she walks over to the bar, and without even ordering something, a drink is put in front of her. So she looks around. She doesn't look out of place. Like everyone else seems to be like wearing weird costumes and stuff like that. And the bar's there's music playing. There's like bouncers everywhere, but nobody's dancing. They all seem to be like sitting and drinking. But it's like a really like kind of like stylized, sleazy bar, but like tries to look classy. Mm-hmm. So the woman sits down at a place. She sees another guy at the place, sits down with him, and she's like, you're the only one here. You seem to be drinking water. And he's like, yeah, this is what I do. And so they wind up talking, and he starts to tell her about his backstory. And so the bulk of the episode is now his backstory. So we get he's a Hispanic man with tattoos on his face, and we get his whole backstory about how he used to be like a crime boss and how he killed his family using this like firepower that he has, which he calls the devil's power or the devil's abilities or whatever. And basically he says he never brought his work home with him until all of a sudden his wife found his work. And he's like, I don't know how, but my wife somehow figured out what I was doing, which doesn't make any sense because I never brought my work home. So somehow somebody set me up. Somebody put some of my drugs or money or whatever in my house so that she would find them and made sure that she would find them. Mm-hmm. So like, he's like, somebody set me up. I know that somebody set me up. I know that I need to repent, but I keep, every time I use my powers, every time they tell me I need to use my powers, people wind up dead. So at the end of this, you can see a couple of people are listening. So that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Next episode is a tall man in a hat. So we're back in the bar. A tall man in a hat walks over. He puts his hand on the shoulder of the man with tattoos on his face. And he says like, I'm sorry that happened, to your children, and I don't know what I would do if my daughter died. We then get this man's backstory about how he's like a super assassin who's never missed until one day he was given a contract by a government official. And they like outfitted him with all this awesome gear and whatnot and told him that he needed to kill this political person But when he took the shot, he missed. And he'd never missed a shot before. And it led to his arrest. And the reason he missed is because the bullet he was given was a blank. So he's like, the government who hired him set him up because they wanted him to get caught. So now he's like, you know, all I wanted to do was make money for my daughter, but now my reputation as a, you know, has also been shot. My daughter thinks I'm a villain because everyone found out that I, you know, before then nobody knew that I was, because I never missed. You know?
Yeah.
But now that I missed, I got. So that's the end of that episode. Next episode is called. Oh, sorry. That episode was called "Missed Me." This episode coming up is called "Swallowed Pride." So we get a large man in a hoodie we cannot see. He laughs at the man in the fancy hat story, and he says, you know, reputation is not worth anything, you know, vengeance and reputation. He pulls back his hood and he reveals that he's like covered in scales and whatnot. And he explains how he was treated as a child. He was a monster. He was shunned from society. He was even branded as a cannibal by a government organization. Although he was not a good person, he was never a cannibal until one day they like this organization put him in a cave and treated him like an animal. And so he was so hungry that eventually he gave in, and a guard got too close and he bit the guard's hand off. And now he has gained a taste for flesh. Because, you know, he's like, the others back away, but he says, you know, he really only has a thirst for revenge to prove, you know, as like an act of irony. He's like, anyone who tortured me, I'm going to eat them and no one else, because that's the ultimate irony.
Yep.
And that's the end of that episode. The next episode is called Romance. So the woman still seated at the table is with a scaled man, the tattooed man, and the tall man with the nice hat. And the tall man in the hat asks her what her deal is. And she begins to talk about how she used to be a psychiatrist at an asylum, like at a patient center for prisoners. She had a patient that was so intriguing. She was like, I really wanted to help this person. I really wanted to figure him out. So she spent a long time getting to know him. And she was fascinated by him and really tried to work with him until one day she realized that he had been playing her. And had somehow convinced her that they were in love, right?
Yeah.
But she was being played this whole time. So he convinced her to help him escape, and they worked together. And she like went down this life of crime and took drugs, and it really like this kind of abuse and drug abuse and emotional abuse really fucked with her psyche. And so finally, when something better came along, he dropped her so fast, and so she'd just been used. So now she was like used and broken. And she was no longer capable of returning to being a doctor of her old life because she'd been so fucked up. And so she attempted to have herself committed, even back to the institution where she worked at as a psychiatrist. And she was like, you know, I need to go to jail and whatnot. And she applied even to get a therapist to help her.
Yeah.
But she was denied. And then she was detained in jail, and they refused to give her treatment to make her better. Instead, they offered her a deal. And at this point, the story breaks, and we're back in the bar, and she's interrupted by a man with an accent who finishes the sentence. He says, you know, she was offered a deal. If you work for them, you can get time off your sentence. So the next episode is called Karma. So it opens up with the man with the accent, Australian accent, and he says, you know, I'm not interested in vengeance or love. I was always just interested in the big score, getting the next money, the most money and whatnot. But when I heard that a big government entity was snatching up other villains under mysterious circumstances, I needed an insurance policy, so I put together a heist to get information rather than money. What I found was a file that outlined each of your crimes and how you were set up, each of the people at the bar. But then what happened is I got caught. But I got caught on purpose. I wanted to get caught because then I knew I would find all of you here. Because I have a name. The name of the person who set you all up is Amanda Waller. Right? And that's why we all wound up here. So what we see is at this point, we've been seeing the bar, and it's super stylized because it's actually the woman's point of view. And we're actually, the entire time we've been sitting in a prison cafeteria, all the bouncers are guards. The bodyguards that she walked in with were actually like escort guards. And so it's like, that's the way it's all been set up, is to look this way, because we've been seeing it from inside the woman's mind. And the last episode is called Breakout. So the 5 of them agree to help each other break out of the prison and then find the woman known as Amanda Waller. So they all break out, and I wanted this to be stylized so it would look like a gang war from the woman's perspective. And then they, once they finally get out, this whole gang war thing, which I think would look really cool if you shot it well. So each of them agrees to they're like, we need to go after Amanda Waller. Each of them has their own reasons, which is love, vengeance, redemption, greed, and dignity, right? For each of the characters. And so that would be the 5, those themes would be the 5 episodes culminating in a 6th episode for season 2.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I in my pitch I played with the idea that we never see their names. They're just called the man in the hat, the man with the scales, but they're clearly supposed to be. Yeah.
And if you know enough about them, you can tell who they are.
Yeah.
Right?
And it would clearly be stylized. It's supposed to be a mini series. Each episode is basically their backstory, and it's bookended with these bar scenes. Where everyone's super dressed up, but it's all clearly from inside the woman who is Harley Quinn's mind. And then each of the episodes is also named after a theme. So the Devil's Work is Diablo, Miss Me is Deadshot, but it's also a play on how he misses his daughter. Swallowed Pride is supposed to be the Croc, how he swallowed his romance. Yep. I was trying to, because a Harlequin romance.
Yep.
And then the last one I thought was really clever, which was Karma.
Yeah.
Because what goes around comes around. Because it's a boomerang. Anyway, and the last one was Breakout, the last episode. So, and I thought if in the second season, if I was going to do that, each of them has something they're working towards, so each episode would be about that, right? Deadshot is about love. Killer Croc is about vengeance. Diablo is about redemption. Boomerang is about greed. And Harley Quinn is about dignity. Yeah.
And so, yeah, you would want a sequel, and
I would do a second season. Hell yeah!
Can I ask what would be in the second season? You don't have to pitch it fully.
Well, each of those episodes would revolve around one character.
Yep.
And about how they're trying to achieve those goals, and then the last episode, I would have them confront and probably kill Waller, because that's been sort of leading up to this point.
So it wouldn't really be the Suicide Squad anymore.
It's still the Suicide Squad. They've been put together. The reason they're there the reason they're in the prison is because they've all been given this deal to be in the Suicide Squad. It's just they haven't actually worked together. Now they're working together, and they know who's responsible for setting them up or putting them in prison, and basically forcing them into work for them. And now they're coming together as the Suicide Squad to break out and kill Waller.
Okay, I like that.
It's different. I wanted to do. I liked the idea of doing something super stylized. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Sucker Punch.
I have not.
Okay, well, my idea was heavily based on Sucker Punch. The idea behind Sucker Punch, spoilers, but it's a really neat movie, is that these girls all wind up working in a strip club, basically. Not quite a strip club, more like a showroom. You know what I mean? Where they're it is a strip club, but it's it's a showroom where they dress up and stuff like that. But it's all done super stylized. It even has a filter on it the whole time, this super light, shiny filter. Because what it actually is this is what they're seeing. This is what they imagine, but all of them are in a psych ward.
Oh.
Right? So there's 3, you can see 3 different versions of the story. It's been a while since I've seen that movie, but there's the delusion, that they, what is it? Because there's also fight scenes and whatnot. It's a crazy movie where each of them has their own fight scene and backstory. It's a neat movie. It's not the best movie, but it's shot really well. I do want to do an episode on that as well. But that's what I was trying to go for with this, was this make it super stylized. Everything is crazy, vibrant and colored and almost maybe not comic book but almost you're watching a live action version of a anime or a cartoon. And then have the real world look like the real world, like the prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check that out too. You'll have to send me the name of that again.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah. Any last minute thoughts about the Suicide Squad?
I really liked your pitch. I like that you completely transformed it. And I was just I'm just gonna change a couple things, I guess.
I actually, after doing that soft pitch that I did earlier with the the like horror movie Enchantress, I'm sitting there going like, shit, like I like my pitch, I think it's great, but I'm like, shit, that would have been a way better pitch. Like I had, oh fuck, I wish I'd written that pitch instead of the pitch that I did write. Not that I regret that, just hey man,
write it again.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna waste my time writing another pitch for it, but maybe I'll write it into a movie of its own. I'll work with Nate and do that. Yeah. Any last minute thoughts on Suicide Squad?
No, not really.
Where can people find you?
I liked it. You can find me on Twitch, .tv/AlyssaLou, ALYSSALOOO, or on Instagram as Alyssa Rose Handmade. I also manage the socials for Robot Philosopher, and I play bass for Robot Philosopher as well. Yeah.
You can find Robot Philosopher anywhere you listen to awesome music. If you're looking for some dope heavy metal / progressive metal, and you can also hopefully soon you can also check out Alyssa and I playing some games on that Twitch channel, which will hopefully then be uploaded to our other YouTube channel, which may or may not exist yet, but it'll be happening sooner than later, called Arcadiates, and you can probably find a link somewhere on this YouTube channel or in the link. And you can always catch new episodes of CineMasters every week with awesome people with their own ideas coming on, not just me and Alyssa or me and Nate. So, you never know what movie or who's going to be on. And you can catch new episodes of This Is a Thing every other week with bonus episodes and podcasts happening on the off week from that right here on CineMasters Ultimate Timeline. We'll check you later.
All right. Bye.